Hey folks, welcome to what is probably going to be quite a marathon Q&A session. There's so many questions this week that I'm probably not going to get through them all. But if you do have any questions, drop me a line. Eczema Healing on Instagram or info@eczemahealing.org is the email address to get questions through to me directly. Let's get into your questions without further ado. So the first question comes from Lost on My Feet on Instagram. Can I ask you if gluten is really bad? I'm not eating gluten right now, and I did the same during my healing process, but I wanted to know if it's something people with eczema should avoid for life, or if it's okay to consume sometimes. So this person heals from eczema on the eczema healing program, and now it's a question of what can I get away with? Can I go back to eating gluten? Is it going to send me back down the same track? My fast response to that is, if you don't want to eat gluten, really, if you can live without it and just have rice and potatoes and other things, then do that and just enjoy those things, because gluten is definitely never going to digest as well as fruit and rice and potatoes and all those other types of carbohydrates. Can you get away with a little bit of it every now and again, though? Yes, you can. And often the problem with gluten is the fact that it comes in such processed foods. So it comes in things like, wraps or cakes or cookies, or just things that they contain gluten, but really gluten is probably not the worst thing about that product. It's the fact that it's so processed, or it's packaged up with loads of other fat and sugar and things that you shouldn't be eating. The next question comes on Facebook, on the Eczema Healing community on Facebook. There's a link below to join that if you are not a member already. From Nur Yusra Amer Zulkilifi, who says, too much scratching on the same spot for years that cause bad PIH. That's post-inflammatory hyperpigmentation. Does it fade away? If it does, how long does it take? How long does anything take is always a $1 million question on the eczema healing lifestyle. It kind of depends on how long you've had it for and what you've been doing, how many steroids, exactly how bad the scratching is. Without any photos, without seeing anything, I can't even hazard a guess. But as far as does it fade away, in my experience, yes. People that have had scars and things, maybe all they need to do is apply a light layer of rosehip oil, or just continue with the internal moisturization route, sweating as much as possible, detoxifying as much as possible, just keeping that turnover of skin cells. Doing all of those things continues to improve the skin even when the eczema is gone. So PIH, yes, it's possible to get rid of it. Daryl G asks, how do I access your books? Eczema is really messing up my life. It really is. I lost my job due to it. I'm tired of waking up in pain all over my body. I can't even hug my little girl. Bro, please help. Daryl, I really feel your pain, and I speak with lots of people who are going through your same situation, and it's a horrible place to be. You can access the books at eczemahealing.org, www.eczemahealing.org. There's also a link down below this video, so you can click on that and it will take you through to where the books are. Other than that, just keep asking your questions on here. Join the Facebook group, the Eczema Healing community, and we will try and help you. The next question comes from OG Source Crypto. Hey Greg, thanks for all the content. Short Q&A videos, blah, blah, blah. I'm just going to cut through to the question here. Medicinal cannabis is here to stay, and legalization will occur within 10 to 15 years. With that in mind, what is your opinion on the immune modulating effects of cannabis in relation to inflammation in the body? I know your view on allopathy, but just curious to know more from someone with your level of exposure to so many clients. I haven't experimented myself with many CBD products at all. I've tried one type of CBD oil which did contain THC. It did have a very calming effect on my body, but it's not something that I ever felt I needed to include as part of my either healing or maintenance journey. As far as your specific question about immune modulating effects of cannabis, I don't know anything about that, I'm afraid. It's not something I've ever researched, but maybe I'll look it up as a result of you asking that question to expand my own knowledge. And maybe in subsequent, if you ask the question again, I will probably have looked it up by then and we'll get a bit further into it. Sorry I haven't looked it up prior to making this video. So yeah, bit of a rubbish response there. My apologies. Div Does Stuff says, Hi Greg, I am currently following a whole foods plant-based diet and eating mainly fruits and green juices. I have scalp seborrheic dermatitis and severe scabs forming, and I avoid washing with shampoo and oil and scalp as much as possible. I also do water enemas. Do you think the scabs will come off themselves eventually? Some are like rock solid, so I try to take them off, but there's always fluid that comes out. Is this normal? Yes, it is quite normal because the detoxification effect, if you imagine when you start detoxifying in the body, you are purging toxins from all the extremities of your body, the deep stored toxins that will typically be stored in your fat cells all around the body. And when they start to come out into the lymphatic system and drain, you have a lot of mucus and pus surging through your body, and so you often get this collecting up behind scabs. In any way that your body can push this stuff out, it's going to try and do it. So yes, it is quite normal as part of the detox process to have the fluid that comes out and the rock hard scabs that you talk about. Sometimes they're soft, sometimes they're rock hard. It just depends, depending on a little bit to do with your hydration level and where you're at in your healing process. But if you want to soften those, then you can use something like coconut oil just to take the edge off. I would avoid using anything containing any chemicals. Just keep things simple. Don't put anything on your body that you wouldn't eat, and keep your hydration levels really, really strong so that your body's got lots of hydration to work with from within. Next question from Rehan Nasir. Thank you so much for your videos. I'm thinking of starting NMT with dry fasting for 1 month. I think this will allow the body to focus on skin repair and healing will occur faster. Any thoughts? Yes, my thoughts are don't do dry fasting, and NMT, most of NMT I agree with. That's the no moisture treatment. Most of that I agree with, but dry fasting I don't agree with. I think this will allow the body to focus on healing. You don't need to do fasting necessarily to get your body to focus on skin repair and healing. You don't really need to do that. You can just get more detoxifying with your diet and lifestyle. Go raw vegan instead. That'll get your body detoxifying. Drink green juices every day. That'll get your body detoxifying. If you want to try fasting and bring in fasting every now and again, that is up to you. But if you've read the Complete Guide to Healing Eczema, you will know that I don't form it as part of the eczema healing process. Daisy says, longer videos would be great. I find, let's skip to where your question is, Daisy. She asks, how did you know you were on the healing path? I think is what you mean by that question. Did your skin just clear up at once or gradually? It was gradually. Did the itching stop all of a sudden or continue as your skin was clearing up? That was gradually as well. So it kind of continued. Sometimes it would come in fits and bursts. As you know, if you suffer from itching with eczema, itching comes in fits and bursts. They just became less and less frequent as my skin was getting better and better. And your first question, how did you know you were on the healing path? I didn't really. There wasn't anything in the mirror that was necessarily telling me I was on the healing path. In fact, at first it was getting worse. But I trusted so much in the research I'd been doing. I looked so much into lymphatic pumping, draining. I looked so much into detoxification, getting the body to a healing state, that I just believed that there must be something good going on with everything that I've been doing with my body. So I stuck to it. And it was about 6 months in before I could hand on heart say, yeah, I'm really on the right path with this. Maksudi Adam says, this is regarding kefir. I'm going to skip to your question here. Random question regarding cycling. I'm thinking to start riding to reduce my costs. How do you manage riding in dry, super cold weather, especially in winter? And what do you think of Bromptons? They seem really expensive, but very practical. That's amazing, Adam. I'm really pleased that you're thinking of getting into cycling. But I will be honest, in the winter in the UK, it is not an easy thing to get into. And there will be some really depressing moments on the bike where you'll just be thinking, what am I doing? Because you'll be wet through, you'll be just covered in mud, perhaps, depending on which route you're taking. And you'll be cold and your hands will be numb. And sorry, I don't mean to be putting you off, but cycling, as you know, I'm a huge fan of, and I really feel that if you're going to get into it, get yourself some really decent gear, get yourself a half decent bike. I think Bromptons are fantastic. They're really convenient, especially if you're in the city and every now and again you're jumping onto public transport. get some really decent gloves, get some decent layers, so get some base layers to put on underneath, and then the key with cycling is to layer up and have layers that you can take off as you get warm if you're going faster and harder on the bike. But don't scrimp out and get cheap stuff, because you're just going to get wet and miserable and wish you weren't doing it. Invest in some decent stuff. It doesn't need to be brand new. Go through the secondhand markets like Facebook Marketplace and eBay. Get a secondhand bike if you can find a decent one, and go from there. Hello Man says, what about gaps? People eat carbs and heal their eczema on it. Can name a lot of people. Yeah, I do recommend eating carbs. So I'm not sure really why you're asking that question, because I definitely recommend eating carbohydrates. In fact, 80 to 90% of my diet is carbohydrates. S and all the numbers asks, do you recommend getting all probiotics from food sources, or also use a supplement, especially if you haven't tried whole foods plant-based diet yet? I do recommend using probiotic supplements, especially if you're on the garlic program, because that will really strip a lot of the natural bacteria that's in your gut away from you. So using probiotics to repopulate and help to promote a good gut flora biome inside of you is a good idea. But I also recommend doing it from natural sources too, like kombucha and anything else that you can think of, sauerkraut, etc. You also ask another question. In your description box, you write you were able to quit your job, research diet, nutrition, detoxification. How? What were you doing income-wise? Were you living off savings? I was working from home at the time, and I was able to side by side build eczemahealing.org as a website alongside my normal day job. So I was doing my normal day job, and kind of in the evenings and weekends, I was building eczemahealing.org. Firstly as a blog, and then my first coaching client came along, and it kind of just went from there. Travel's a huge passion of mine, and so at first I took a huge pay cut moving to eczemahealing.org, but it's such a huge passion that I just really wanted to do it. I wanted to put all of my working hours into it, and so that's what I did. And I quit the other job. Massive drop in my income, but I was passionate enough about it to basically make it work for me and just live a very low income lifestyle. Pompey Phi asks, hey Greg, is showering with kind of hot water bad? I feel like it removes all the flakes off the face. By the way, thanks. Yeah. Showering with hot water, it's not that bad. It's not as bad as putting chemicals all over your skin, because it's not introducing anything to the skin that is going to go in and then affect your internals. But in terms of putting that amount of physical abrasion on your skin, yeah, it's not a great idea. But it can, I know exactly what you're talking about. It just can be so relieving. It can be so satisfying to do that. But I would encourage you not to, if you can, and just go for a lukewarm shower. If you need to get exfoliating gently with your hands to just kind of massage eczema affected areas, then I'd much more highly recommend doing that instead of blasting yourself with really hot water. Okay, so this video I think is long enough. Thank you all for your questions. Sorry if I've missed your question this week, because there was quite a few. I do try to get to all of them, but I probably have missed a few this week. So please just ask it again, or draw my attention to your question that I've missed. That's it for this week. Post your comments and questions for next week down below this video. You're free to go, and I'll see you again in about a week's time.